Okay, perfect. So the biggest thing I think, so going back to you saying like, that you're nervous to do this, the reason that I really wanted to do this, and I put several of you guys on the spot to do it, is because I like to learn from somebody who is just a little bit ahead of me, somebody who is, I always put in an example of like weight loss. I don't want to learn from somebody who is in the best shape of their life, lost 100 pounds, all that stuff. Like I want to learn from somebody that's like maybe lost 10, so I think that that's really helpful because we have the student interview or the business interviews of people who have their business going. They sure teach the students a lot. But I think, and that's why I wanted to do this, is because it's also helpful to be like, okay, well, she can do it. And being the first student of the program to have your first real paying customer 16 weeks in, I think that really makes it feel doable from other people versus, there's me saying, hey, I've done this and I've accomplished this and I make this much and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's nice to know it's possible. But sometimes just knowing that person who's just a little bit ahead of you
Yeah.
puts bigger win in myself. So with that said, let's just jump to our cheat sheet here and
Okay.
tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and what brought you to Myo.
Sure. So my name is Kelsey. I've been a hygienist for a little over 13 years, in dentistry for 17. Um, my story is very similar to yours. I feel like kind of parallels a lot. Just never have loved hygiene, but got married to the paycheck. Then life, like I was moving across the country by myself, starting a new thing. And I'll worry about finding another career later. Then I got married. Then I had kids. It was just like never a good time to start something new. But I'd heard about it here and there. And then last fall, the doc that I had worked for 9 years pretty quickly sold her practice. And I was planning for her to be the last dentist I ever worked for. I did not want to work for anybody else. And I was like, I have to figure this out. And so started kind of Googling, as I had done 1,000 times. And then reached out to my first boss, who I worked for 3 years right out of hygiene school in another state, and was just said, I'm looking for something out of hygiene still. And he was like, well, look into myofunctional therapy. He had been doing airway dentistry now for like 8 or 9 years, probably, I think. After I left, he started. And I was just like, I don't know. So I sat on it for a couple weeks, and then did a deep Google dive, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it.
That is so awesome. Number one, that your dentist knew. So, in the world where I'm always saying, okay, 99 dentists are going to steer you wrong and the 1%. So that's awesome. So that's kind of serendipitous. Like
Yeah.
things happen at the right time. And I'm a firm believer that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And it's like, why didn't that happen? Because energetically you had some blocks, it just wasn't the right time. So
Yep.
you Googled it.
Yep.
And then how did you come across me?
Yeah. So I looked into a few different training programs. I did my research, I feel like, and I just kind of kept coming back to you, just your story, how much it paralleled with mine, and your personality. I was just like, I feel like she's my people. And yeah. And then when I reached out to you, like in an email, you got back to me really quickly, and same, just like had really good vibes. And I just felt really good about it. And you had already started this class, and you let me in like a month late, I think. And because you were like, if you can bust it and not hold the class back, then I'll let you in. And that's what we did. And
And here we are. Yeah, I just got goosebumps. So not only are you an example of the first client or the first student who has the first paying client, but you also came in a month after everybody else and worked to get yourself caught up. So like you remind me of me in that, when I jumped in, I was like, okay, well, here I go, because I don't fail. I don't have a history of failing. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, but I know that everything is figure outable and I'm going to do it. So that also, I think, is worth celebrating. you doing that. So getting yourself caught up, and I think I've let a couple other students in late, one for sure, but you were just the one, like, I wanted to get into the live classes and the coaching, so I had to just get caught up. But correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it kind of addicting once you get started?
Oh, I've nerded out. I actually had a friend who, she's out of hygiene now, but she did myo for a little bit in an office. So she kind of just got burnout on all of it, I think. But I actually just talked to her the other day, and she was like, it ruins your life in the best way, because like you nerd out on it, but you can't unsee it everywhere. So
yeah, and I love that. It ruins your life in the best way.
yeah.
And for me personally, it probably, I've always obviously had this personality, but I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Me too.
And I think that in this role where you have to ruffle feathers or you have to step on toes, like, it has really taught me about bravery, because I have, every time I have a conversation with somebody who doesn't understand what I do or doesn't understand or believe, like, it forces me to communicate in a way that I never had, which has really changed, I would say, my personality for the better. Because I always tell people I really am a shy person, and they're like, really? There's no way. I am a shy person. I can sit in a room. If nobody ever talks to me, I will never talk to them, because I'm just not outgoing. Okay. So, so you answered, how you first heard about it. How did you know that it was for you? Like, what was the thing? You might have touched on this a little bit, but how did you know in your heart of hearts?
So first off, like, just kind of doing it was Google and sort of finding social media, also once I found your program, then I found your socials. And it was just all I feel like so many dots were immediately connected. And I was like, why don't I already know this stuff? Like, as a hygienist, kind of, not to say that like all hygienists should be myofunctional therapists, but like we should have the basic knowledge of all these dots that connect. And I was just like, this makes so much sense. Like, it's relatively simple that it just makes sense. And then also, biggest thing is my 4-year-old, there was a missing piece for me with him with several things. And I was like, this is going on in my own house. And so that's really where I was like, my mama heart was like, I got to help my kid. So
yeah, I think that answers what is your why, like,
yeah.
what's going on under your roof.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to just kind of extend on that just a little bit. So in the time that you were in the program, as you started learning things, you were gathering, you were sleuthing around your own household. So tell me a little bit about how you felt when you took your little guy to see Dr. Bieneman and found out stuff that you never knew.
Yeah. I mean, I at that point had I more went to Dr. Bieneman because I wanted confirmation that I like wasn't just trying to see a tongue tie. So that was the thing. I've been worried about his sleep for a while, couple years, and the pediatrician's just kind of like, he's fine, and I'm like, but his tonsils are quite large. He's fine. He'll get a growth spurt. Yeah. Knew that he wasn't sleeping well, and showing some ADHD tendencies sometimes too. So I knew there was a missing piece. And then when we started going over symptoms, early childhood and infancy, I was like, oh, we had a lot of those things. And so when I went to Dr. Bieneman, I was pretty confident that he would tell me he had a tie, but I was like, little bit. And he was like, more than a little bit. Yeah. And it's not an obvious, it's protrusion. He can protrude fine, which, as we know, is worthless, basically, information. So yeah, it was just it was good to sort of have an answer, but now we're in the, what do we do about it phase. So
yeah. So you're going to be able to connect with so many mamas because you have that level of connection with them. Whereas I had a little bit of the same thing just because of my granddaughter. But I tell you what, I have virtually wiped more mama's tears of like, why? why don't we know this? Why? And there, it's just so hard because, as you know, we trust our pediatricians, and reportedly, of course, it's been years since a pediatrician taught me this, but at that time, 99% don't believe. So
Right.
that's really disheartening. Okay, so tell us a little bit about where you live and where you want to build a business.
Sure. So I live in Colorado in the Denver metro and across the ridge from you. And I plan to have a completely virtual practice. So would love to serve everywhere in the world, or like if my clients start out here and move around or they're on vacation, can still meet if we need to. I don't really want to get up at 3:00 in the morning for anybody. So, but if they want to get up at 3:00 in the morning, that's fine. For an international client.
Yeah, you can work it out because I've had clients across every time zone. And it's some of them get a little bit squirrely, but typically it's kind of a compromise. But like what I find right now, that's why I have a day of the week where I offer early morning appointments, because, you know, after a certain point, those are the appointments that somebody wants. I have had somebody in Hong Kong who would get up at a weird time. And I think part of that was because she wouldn't schedule her appointments when I told her to. So then there wouldn't be an availability. I had somebody in London who was seeing me at like 2:00 in the morning, and that was because she kept no showing. So she was too embarrassed to ask for anything else. So she would see me at a weird time. And then I think I've had somebody in Hawaii see me as the sun was coming up. You know, so, but you make it work. But yeah, I've never had to do that, knock on wood. I don't think I would. There's too many, you know, this field is growing too much to like, there's got to be somebody else who could accommodate better, because I don't want to work those kind of hours. That's one of the biggest things of having flexibility in my schedule. Okay. So what kind of decisions have you made so far? You know, I'm a big fan of making decisions, taking imperfect action, evaluating, taking more imperfect action. So I teach you guys that we don't keep making new decisions. So what decisions have you made?
So right off the bat, pretty much when I started, I was so ready to go, and you offer so many resources, at least at the gold level, to be able to work ahead kind of with business stuff. I pretty quickly chose a business name, got my LLC registered, started my website, did my website, backed off. I'm only temping in hygiene now, backed off to 1 to 2 days a week. And yeah, so I have childcare only 2 days a week. So I have to sort of work out, like right now I'm mostly working like 1 day a week temping. And then I use Wednesdays as my open day for trying to work on the business.
Awesome.
But
those are big decisions. And you mentioned doing your website. Like I remember having that coaching call with you where you were just like, I'm just not paying somebody to do this. I'm going to figure it out myself. And you're going to have several iterations of your website. And as I teach, you're going to keep adding things to it to make it more a tool for you and getting things automated and stuff. But the working ahead, you know, it's called Ditch Hygiene Academy for a reason. And a lot of people are like, want to be in both worlds for a while or whatever, versus you being like me, like, I want it out of here as soon as I can be. So you are thinking ahead, you're planning ahead, you're working ahead into those other modules. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I finished and had a paying client, you know, when I finished my schooling, because I was like, hey, I don't want to fail at this. I'm spending too much time telling people about this new dream that I have. And they all thought I was crazy to walk away from a hygiene job. And now I'm like, I won. They lost. They were wrong. Okay. What kind of brave conversations are you having?
so because I'm temping now, and not just kind of in one office, having conversations only in one office, I'm able to network, I feel like, pretty well with docs around here. And I feel like I pretty much talk about something myofunctional related with every patient, which I feel like all the offices probably are like, wow, this girl is slow, but it's just because I'm like talking everybody's ear off.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm in your craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't not
Yeah,
just
yeah,
do it all.
yeah. How can you? And like I have taught in the course, like you guys have to, that's how you perfect your explanation. So you don't sound like you're selling a used car to somebody. And so like what you're talking about, because people are always after that know, like, and trust. So the benefit also of temping is you have no allegiance to anybody. So if you come into an office, you're a new face there. Well, what do you do the rest of your time? Oh, I run my myofunctional therapy company. What? What is
Yep.
that? You don't have to hide it. And that's what I found is it's not a secret.
Yep.
That's what I do. That's what I do. And also, like, if somebody were to ever say anything to, like, don't talk to my clients about sleep apnea, you're like, wait, you're not talking about sleep apnea?
Yeah.
How
I
nice.
haven't had any docs yet, like tell me to shut up or anything, but I usually try to find them at some point during the day if possible to just be like, this is what I'm doing. And some of them are like, oh, that's cool. Like, I kind of know about that, send me some info. And then some are like, that's awesome. Definitely give me some info. Some are like, okay, neat. So, I know they're not my target person.
And the funny thing is like, yeah, they're not your potato chip human, as I call them. But you're getting still to have conversations, and you might be surprised sometimes they come out of the woodwork. And unfortunately, a lot of those old conversations that I have come out of the woodwork incorrectly, like orthodontist referring somebody to me for swallowing for a tongue thrust, but telling the client that they needed Instagram Invisalign first to fix the gaps in the teeth, or else you'd never learn to swallow correct, like that kind of stuff. And you're like, that's actually not how it works. Let me help you understand this. So sometimes those people coming out of the woodwork, they almost do it out of desperation, but that's how we grow, is those conversations. What boundaries are you setting?
So I feel like definitely the cutting back work, but then I have to be really diligent with my time when I'm home and my kids are not here, because I will definitely like go scrub a toilet and fold laundry, and I'll take advantage of my time alone because I never have that, almost never. So as you teach in the course, the total calendar control, I'm really trying to do that, especially on my Wednesdays when I am home, and block out time for different things, a little bit of like website time, a little bit of if I have a client. And then like today, obviously I was sort of prepping for this and working on some marketing stuff, but just sitting down and like focus time. And then also with my family, like Fridays when we meet for class, we don't have childcare that day. So my husband has kind of had to take that on, which he's willing to do because he knows that it's important. But he also has a job too. So we've had to kind of like, figure that out.
So you mentioned total calendar control. That was completely foreign to all of you guys when I taught it to you. And it's a hard concept to grasp. But I think you really will find that you make progress if you're focusing on those 3 essential priorities, because I could get lost for hours in whatever, like one task, but it is hard to, correct me if I'm wrong, it's hard to work on your website for an hour and switch gears into something else, which might be confusing to some other people. But like I taught you, you have to be telling people what you do. You have to be telling people that you can help them. You also are building a website. So you've got to be doing a little bit of everything so that you're kind of moving along in everything, not just your website, because your website is going to be fantastic. But if nobody's there to look at it, that idea. What has been a challenge so far for you?
Initially, the financial decision was definitely difficult. Well, I guess for me, I'm just always I have like money baggage, so big financial decisions are always very difficult for me. My husband though was like, I've never seen you this excited about anything, so like just pick what you're going to do and just go for it. as far as like which level, I was planning to go for. And I did go with the gold, which I'm so happy that I did. And then, like kit supply, like if I wanted to get going, I had to buy kit supplies and pay for web hosting and, scheduling program. Like it's added up, but I know that it is necessary and it'll be worth it for sure. And then probably the techie stuff, as far as I feel like you've
Figuring it out. That's the best thing. And that's probably
yeah,
one of the next questions is like, I think figuring that out, there's a point where you have to cross the line of like, or draw the line of, okay, I just spent 4 hours working on whatever, when I could have paid somebody for 1 hour to do it. But I also think we need to know how to run our business, and we need to know
yeah,
how to run everything. What the work that my team does, I know how to do it. I
yeah,
know all of those things. So that's really important too. Going back to the financial thing. So it resonates with you a little bit, probably in that last lesson when I was talking about like the money mindset. It's a lot it's a lot to spend to get in on the gold level. And it's only gonna, depending on when people see this, it's only gonna get more expensive. But I always tell people it's not an investment in me, it's an investment in you. And it's the only investment, I think, for somebody who wants to do, like who wants to jump in. Like we don't just dip our toe in, we cannonball in, but it's that mindset thing. And you have to trust yourself. People are always saying, well, when will I get a return or what? And I'm like, that is a fear-based question. And you have to figure that out. Because you're already getting a return on that. And these are skills for the rest of your life, not just until next year. And it's also a couple clients. That's the other thing, is when people are like, oh, dude, it's just a couple of clients.
yeah.
And
Well, and like the other reason that I chose the gold level is when I was telling my husband, I was like, there's 3 levels. Like generally I kind of always go like middle of the road with most things. But he was like, we were looking at the differences together and just the extra resources available at the gold level. I was like, that is going to give me so much time back. That time I would spend on all those like swipe files and things that you give us in the gold level that I don't have the time for, And so that stuff is so huge with that level that I chose. So
yeah. Awesome. That, again, you keep giving me goosebumps. Okay. So what has been exhilarating so far?
Well, other than my initial like, whew, this is what we're doing. Okay, let's go. Just the idea that I'm like captaining my own career ship now, I guess. And I never, ever, ever thought that I would be a business owner. It was not something that it was ever on my radar. Really don't have anybody in my family that's ever been like an entrepreneur or it's just I'm proud of myself even just for how much work I've done already. And I'm just so excited for my family, the flexibility, the not having to like fill out can I take a vacation in 6 months sheet,
Yeah.
Somebody else deciding my life for me, and then just building something that I can be proud of and my family can be proud of. So
Yep. All of that, because that's the biggest thing when I talk with potential students and they're like, well, I don't know, or maybe I just want to do it in the office, which I'd never want to poo-poo, because anybody who's at least seeing what we do and seeing the myofunctional impairments and helping change lives. But I'm like, hey, just remember that you want something for you in the future. Because I have consulted on cases where the boss sells the practice, dies, all of these things. The hygienist gets an injury and suddenly can't do hygiene. And now what? And my body is probably the biggest thing that is like, thank you. Because I mean, I've shared this story so many times, but when I was having heart palpitations driving to work, it was time. So, okay. How are you staying organized?
Well, again, as you teach the calendar control, so that's a big part of it. I've always been like a good old paper calendar kind of girl. So I'm really trying, I have my Google Calendar that's linked to my scheduling software. I'm really trying to just utilize all of that. And then, I don't know, just trying as a perfectionist type A person, trying to not get too obsessive about anything in particular. Like you said, take imperfect action.
Yeah.
Um,
Except organization is the one thing where I do tell students, like, work on getting those systems or,
yes,
getting set up, especially if you're using Google Drive, getting that set up first, because, when you have almost 2 terabytes of information on your Google Drive, like I do, and you're like, where is that piece of paper? Is it an asset? Is it a document? Was it, oh my gosh.
yeah,
So, I take the last 2 weeks of the year off, and that's not to sit around and eat bonbons. That's to prepare for the next year. And every year is more organization, like trying to clean up the stuff that I was not organized with early on. So that's okay to be a perfectionist. But really, once you get it set up, and just have a plan, that's really helpful.
yeah.
Okay. So what has been your favorite thing so far with the Ditch Hygiene Academy?
Honestly, I'm not trying to like kiss your butt or anything, but I think just you, because again, the resources available and all of that, there's so many extras that like I didn't even expect to have. Like all the tech videos and like that kind of stuff is huge. But just the support, because in addition to being a recovering people pleaser, I'm also just, as a lot of us are, like a self-doubter and I get in my own head and in my own way a lot. And I feel like when I'm having those moments, I just happen to like, you post something on Instagram or in class, like you're just a really good cheerleader and girl power.
Girl power.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And I take it. I accept that.
yeah,
And that is what a lot of people, when they're looking at other programs, my personality generally is like, they just have that vibe, like yes or no, I mean, I specifically obviously don't know people who are like, hey, screw you, I don't like your personality. Um, and if I do, I'm not a people pleaser anymore. So I would be like, you are not the
no
human.
problem.
I wouldn't be a good leader for you.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's considering jumping in?
Oh, just do it. Go gold. Go big or
Go.
go home.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for gold. And the reason that it was set up that way is because I wanted it to be a very obvious, like, this is where I need to be. And it's funny because you talk about doubt, wondering, like, I almost shelved my training program because I was like, well, I don't know. There's so many coming on the market and blah, blah, blah. And my growth team is like, do what? Why? This is sitting, you have so much that you love doing this. But I wanted to I always am like, hey, let's over deliver.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if somebody asks for something, like specifically last week, you asked for sleep promotion strategies, and guess what? There is now a bonus lesson as of yesterday on sleep promotion strategy. So I was going to tell, or I'll tell class on Friday, but yeah, that's there because it was like, oh, that's, something that I missed along my planning. It's important. So we're going to have a bonus module. So that's there. So, and I love that. Also, I like to cheerlead, but I also try and come at you guys with a critical, like, make you think.
For sure. Yeah.
Because that has been some of my students in the past, like they wanted me to do everything for them, think for them, give them everything. And I was like, friend, you got to do something for yourself. You have to think for yourself. And when I do coaching with my business coaches or my mentors, they answer my questions with a question. Sometimes it makes me so mad. And then sometimes just hearing myself answer it, you're like, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that is the last of my questions. I can't wait to do this. a year from now, because that was also the exciting thing in asking you students to do this is, hey, this is what it's like when I'm starting out, so that next year at this time, when potential students are watching it going, oh, wow, it's been a year and here's what she's doing. So don't take your foot off the gas, my friend. There is too much exciting stuff to come down the pike for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time here with me.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
See you Friday.
Hang on. I'm going to hit record, or I'm going to stop.